If you've watched any of my other videos, you might have heard me say that the Canon Pixma Pro 200S is one of the best printers for heavy cardstock. But today we're going to stop talking about it and actually put it to the test. One of the most common questions I get is, how thick of cardstock can this printer actually handle? And honestly, the answers online are all over the place. Some people talk about pounds, some people talk about GSM, some people talk about thickness, and before long, you're more confused than when you started. So today I decided to test it for myself. I'm going to be printing on 4 different cardstock weights, ranging from a standard 110-pound cardstock all the way up to some seriously thick paper that I honestly wasn't sure this printer could handle. My goal is to help you figure out whether this printer is right for your project and the type of cardstock you actually want to print on. We are going to be testing Michael's 110-pound cardstock, PrintWorks 110-pound cardstock, Red River Polar Matte 330 GSM, and a 350 GSM cardstock that is pushing the limits of what most home printers can do. And while testing this printer's cardstock capability, I learned a thing or two. The first was that the paper that many people assume is the heaviest isn't always the thickest. And the second was that just because it's thick doesn't mean it actually looks good. So stick around until the end where I reveal which paper actually looks the best and which one you might want to invest in. So for our test, we're going to go lightest to heaviest on our paper today, and all of them are linked below this video. So let's get started. Today, I'm going to be printing a page from my school memory book that I sell in my Etsy shop, which you can watch a video on or check out the link below. Our first paper is our PrintWorks cardstock. I got this off of Amazon, and this paper is 110-pound cover cardstock. It is 200 GSM. Now, although this is technically the lightest cardstock we're testing today, it has another factor, which is that it is coated, which means that ink sits differently on the surface. So it's going to be interesting when we compare all of these at the end. Taking a look at the test, this paper easily fed through the rollers. There were no feeding issues and no drama. So we are a go on the PrintWorks cardstock. Next, let's go with the next heaviest, which is a paper that many of you are probably already using, and that is the Michael's 110-pound 300 GSM uncoated cardstock. Now, unfortunately, I only have the off-white color for this paper, so I apologize. If you've watched my channel before, you've heard me talk about this paper quite a bit. It was the paper that sent me on this journey of finding a heavy cardstock printer to begin with, and you can see that it handles this paper with absolutely no issues. And for any of you with a normal printer, you know that this is a phenomenon because most regular printers just won't print on that heavy Michael's paper. So hallelujah, we can include the Michael's paper in our checklist. Next is this Red River Polar Matte paper. I went down a rabbit hole of Reddit threads and yes, had several conversations with ChatGPT, and I found this paper is some of the thickest and heaviest cardstock existing in the world. So I knew I had to have it. This coated paper is 122-pound cover and 330 GSM. It's good to mention that at 330 GSM, we're no longer talking about typical cardstock. We're getting into premium territory, and I'm happy to announce that it did not disappoint. In fact, it gave me a bit of a scare because when I tried to print it out on the front tray, it gave me an error. That's just how thick and heavy this cardstock paper actually is. However, when moving it to the rear tray and selecting that on my printer, it fed through very nicely, and I was relieved that I didn't have to come here today and tell you that it couldn't print this very amazing viral paper. So we now know that this printer can print up to 122 pounds and 330 GSM. That brings us to our final paper, which is a 130-pound cover, 350 GSM. Now, given that that last paper couldn't even feed through the front tray, I was curious how this one was actually going to work out because it definitely felt very thick in my hand. However, I was surprised to find out that this paper actually was able to feed through that front tray with literally no problems at all. So there you have it. All 4 types of cardstock paper fed through the Canon Pixma Pro 200S. But here's the thing that I learned. Just because it was thick didn't mean that it looked great. Remember how we talked about how 2 of those were coated and 2 of them weren't? Well, check out the difference in the color vibrancy of each of these. Check out how the heaviest paper, Weyew, looks grainy and not sharp. Same with the Michael's paper. However, look how vibrant this PrintWorks paper is. And then check out the Red River paper. Amazingly crisp, beautiful, not fuzzy at all. Both the PrintWorks and the Red River paper turned out amazing. They are crisp, they are beautiful, they are professional, and not at all fuzzy like the other two that were uncoated. So what did we learn? Well, first, cardstock is confusing. Second, GSM, pounds, and thickness are not always interchangeable terms. You saw how not the heaviest paper was actually the thickest and had a hard time feeding through that front tray. And third, the Canon Pixma Pro 200S is capable of handling much heavier cardstock than many people realize. But then we also learned that while you might want to print on heavy cardstock, not all paper types are created equal in terms of print quality. My recommendation: if you want heavy prints while also keeping print quality, go with that Red River polar matte paper. You're going to love your prints every time. Now, I'd love to know what paper you're currently using or what paper you'd like me to test next. I've started building quite a collection over here, and apparently testing cardstock has become a new hobby of mine. Leave your suggestions and your comments below. I have a lot more paper experiments planned. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.